When I was 1, I had an arranged marriage with a little wife. My mom doesn't believe in superstitions. She carried me back to the starting point. She wanted me to stay away from her friend's daughter. Little Nai Tian unexpectedly crawled over to me. She grabbed my face and started to pinch it. The two moms watched the babies making funny faces. They decisively arranged another arranged marriage for the two children. When we were kids, Qing Mei tricked me into giving her my Lunar New Year money. She said she was my future wife. My money is handsome money. Then she emptied my entire collection. It wasn't until middle school that Qing Mei's family moved abroad. Thus, this arranged marriage fell through. That day I had just arrived at school. My desk mate Lu Yu came over and said to me, "I heard that a transfer student is coming to our class. And she's coming from abroad." I replied with a faint "oh. It's not like I've never seen a foreigner before. Why make a fuss?" After saying that, he just laid his head on the desk and fell asleep. Soon it was afternoon. I had just entered the classroom. Lu Yu started gossiping again. "You finally made it here. Let me tell you. Do you remember the transfer student I told you about this morning? She has already arrived at our school. She's currently at the academic affairs office." The class representative from the next class just went to grade papers. Seeing the transfer student, he couldn't help but have evil thoughts. He actually took out his phone to secretly snap a picture in the academic affairs office. Not only did the dean of students catch him on the spot, but his phone was also confiscated. He's still being scolded right now. I gagged and clicked my tongue. How dare he take out his phone in the academic affairs office? She must be incredibly beautiful. Lu Yu was even more excited. She's just unrealistically beautiful, you know. I just borrowed the class monitor's phone. Do you want to see it? I can go borrow it for you again. I shook my head. Never mind, never mind. Anyway, they are all transfer students in our class. We'll see the actual person sooner or later. The first class is Chinese. However, the teachers are currently grading papers. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Su, is also involved. So this class has turned into self-study. As the class representative, I was called to the office to help the teachers record scores. My classmates all started to chit-chat with me. Make sure to remember to clearly see what the transfer student looks like. When you come back, I want to see a detailed description. A 1,000-word essay on their appearance. Come on, class representative. Hurry up, class representative. By the way, check how many points I scored. I nodded in response. I took my pen and notebook to the office. In the office, teachers and students were mixed together. Everyone was recording scores and checking papers. I glanced around the room. They were all familiar class representatives. I only saw one unfamiliar face. I certainly didn't see any girl who was excessively beautiful. This might suggest that I have no fate with this transfer student. I had completely forgotten about the transfer student. Then I joined the army of exam paper checkers. Recording scores is done by the teachers. The class representative is mainly responsible for picking out the papers of our class from a pile of graded tests. I saw a few familiar names. I quietly took out paper and pencil to jot down their scores. It was just bad luck. I flipped through an entire class period. Yet I didn't come across a single one of my own papers. However, I did see more than 10 papers from my class. Without exception, all the scores were very low. No wonder Mr. Su was puffed up with anger. At that moment, I overheard two teachers chatting. That child who came from abroad. I heard their foreign language grades are quite good. Yes. I looked at her previous transcript. Other subjects were also very good. How did such a genius end up being taken by Mr. Chin? I recognized they were talking about that transfer student. I felt somewhat surprised. This transfer student has surprisingly good grades. I also heard that she is extremely beautiful. Pai thought that he was actually a super straight-A student. Several students from Zhouguo also heard. They began to whisper among themselves curiously. This is truly amazing. I can't believe our school has transferred in such a legendary figure. I have a feeling that class 3 from now on will have a line of boys every day peeking through the windows. One of the class representatives knows me. She poked my arm. Let me teach you a money-making tip. Block your class's window and door. Pull the curtains closed too. If they want to see the transfer student, they'll have to pay 5 yuan per minute. You'll definitely get rich. Another boy, hearing this, scratched his head and laughed foolishly. How could her face be worth only 5 yuan? 10 yuan to let me see for a minute. I'd be willing to pay 1,000 yuan just to touch it once. I listened in amazement. She must be incredibly beautiful. That boy nodded obsessively again. She is truly beautiful from head to toe. So stunningly beautiful. I didn't see any blonde-haired, blue-eyed foreigners. The teachers wanted to avoid delaying our next class. They clapped their hands and said we could leave now. So I took my notebook. I hurried to my class to report the monthly exam results to my classmates. When I got to the third-floor staircase, I saw the corridor was full of people. And almost all of them were boys. I guessed it was probably that transfer student who had joined our class. I looked around. I didn't see any blonde foreigners. I couldn't help feeling puzzled. Then I walked into the classroom under the envious gazes of the other students. The classroom was noisy during the big break. As I walked in, I was met with a sight. A few eager students asked me, Chen, how was the situation in our class? Because the area around the classroom was filled with people. I felt really embarrassed to tell the truth. So I cleared my throat. And handed over the scoring notebook in my hand. Let them pass it around themselves. My seat is inside the classroom. It's the second to last row by the window. I walked in to take a look. Only to find that my deskmate Lu Yu had already vanished. Instead, there was a girl sitting there. She was wearing a blue JK skirt and a baseball cap. At that moment, she was looking down. The brim of the cap was blocking her features. All I could see was her beautifully delicate jawline. And her fair, smooth skin. The girl was focused on a paper she was holding. The way she looked, it seemed like she was here for a parent-teacher meeting. I thought Lu Yu had been called in for a parent meeting. I hesitated and stopped for a moment. I looked around, wanting to find someone to ask what was going on. Then I found that both people inside and outside the class were looking at me. The looks they gave me were so envious. This left me even more bewildered. Then I saw Lu Yu sitting at the back of the classroom. He was staring at me with an excited and complicated expression. He was wildly mouthing words at me. But his expression was really too wild. I couldn't understand a single word. At this moment, sitting in my deskmate's spot, that girl Xiao suddenly looked up. She looked at me coldly and asked, "Are you coming in?" When I saw this girl's appearance, I suddenly understood what Lu Yu was mouthing. A transfer student. But a transfer student shouldn't be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed foreigner, right? My face turned red and my eyes widened. I accidentally said what I was thinking out loud, but being stared at by so many people, I could only turn my head to change the subject with the classmate next to me. "Is this a seat change?" Lu Yu, sitting at the back row, stood up and replied quickly. The class representative for Chinese didn't change seats. Still in the original position. After saying that, he quickly sat back down, leaving me awkwardly standing there. The transfer student seemed to understand something in this strange atmosphere. Slowly sitting up straight, with chair and all, moving forward. Made some room for me to get in. Then she looked up at me and said, "Too bad. My deskmate is the literature class representative." The words, "my deskmate," seemed to carry more weight. Help. When I heard her say the words, "my deskmate," I suddenly understood. Teacher Qin assigned the newly transferred student. Assigned the literature class representative as a deskmate. This transfer student must have stayed abroad for too long. Just returned and is still not quite used to speaking Mandarin. So her speech is kind of slow. I replied with a, "Thank you." I entered my seat through the space she cleared. Just in time for the class to start. The boys outside the door and windows finally left the classroom reluctantly. The classmates in the room also quieted down. Each prepared their own things. Suddenly plunged into a strange silence. Yet many people were still looking this way. At that moment, the transfer student suddenly whispered a number. 64. I heard it and instinctively felt it was directed at me. My gaze followed hers, landing on the paper on the desk. The foreign language monthly exam paper scored 64. I straightened up abruptly and pulled the paper toward me. Looking at the gruesome feedback on it, I let out a small complaint. Then I looked at the name next to the score. "This is my paper. I haven't had time to feel sad yet." Suddenly I remembered Lu Yu saying he didn't even score half of mine. Doesn't that mean there isn't even a score of 32? The transfer student seemed to glance at me, but I didn't notice. Under the influence of the score, I quickly entered a study mode. This period happened to be foreign language class. I listened intently below. The foreign language teacher was discussing reading comprehension. It was a story about international students. Mid-sentence, she suddenly stopped. She spoke towards my direction. I heard that a transfer student has come to our class. Can we ask this student to translate this article? The students in the class can finally, openly glance in our direction. I looked over as well. I saw that on the transfer student's desk, there was only a brand new foreign language book laid open. I took another glance. I found that the page was the previous letter. I pushed my paper towards the center of their desk. The transfer student turned her face slightly towards me. Her gaze was no longer as indifferent as it had been before class. The sunlight outside was reflected in her pupils. It looked like a piece of crystal clear glass. In that moment of eye contact, I was suddenly hit again by a critical hit of beauty. It was then I noticed that the transfer student had taken off her cap at some point. Even every strand of her hair was ridiculously beautiful. The transfer student moved the exam paper to the middle of the two desks. She stood up, slightly bowing her head. She translated the reading comprehension from start to finish. She completed it effortlessly. The foreign language teacher led the applause after listening to the translation. Clearly, he was very satisfied with the new student. The classmates also erupted in enthusiastic applause. It was obvious they were very pleased with this new student's looks. The class passed quickly. Until the class was over, my exam paper remained between the two of us. The transfer student leaned back in her chair the whole time. I don't know if she has graded the papers, but I keenly sensed that. The transfer student had secretly glanced at me a few times. But how could that be? I felt like I was captivated by her beauty. I started to daydream and became excessively narcissistic. So after class, I just dropped my pen and ran off. I didn't see Lu Yu as I walked past the back row. But as soon as I exited the classroom, I saw Lu Yu waiting for me at the door. He pulled me to a quiet corner. Before I could start bombarding him, I interrupted him in time. I've seen this transfer student before. As expected, Lu Yu was completely stunned on the spot. I then told Lu Yu about my encounter with the transfer student in the morning. And told Lu Yu about knocking her down. Lu Yu listened with sparkling eyes. What a coincidence. This is just too perfect. Whoa. What kind of lucky romance are you having? Jiang Yichen. As if sitting next to a beauty wasn't enough. I can't believe there's such a twist of fate. I was scratching my head in confusion. She's beautiful, but it's troublesome. Forget it, you wouldn't understand. I didn't have the heart to say it. I always felt like the transfer student was watching me in class. And when I bumped into her this morning, she seemed to laugh. It all sounds like I'm imagining things. Lu Yu smiled and patted my shoulder. How could I not understand? Happiness came too suddenly. For a moment, I didn't know how to face this beautiful girl in the future. He caught a glimpse of my annoyed expression. Shut up. They chatted until it was almost time for class. As soon as I entered the classroom, I found my seat surrounded again. To be precise, it was the transfer student who was surrounded. I saw a black phone placed on my exam paper. The screen displayed a QR code. Several boys from other classes. They stood beside her, all holding up their phones. It seemed like they were scanning to add her on social media. Some boys couldn't scan from the outside. The transfer student kindly picked up her phone. Lu Yu's expression suddenly became colorful. He leaned over and whispered to me. Kong came over and whispered to me. I know it's more open abroad. But the transfer student looks pretty aloof. I didn't expect her to be so proactive. I didn't say anything. I just silently nodded. After watching for a while, Xiaoyu patted me on the shoulder. You're right. She's definitely beautiful. It's really troublesome. Indeed, you can't have looks and loyalty at the same time. Soon, the sound of class starting filled the room. The boys excitedly left. I calmly returned to my seat. The transfer student reached out to put her phone away. I also simply reached out to collect my foreign language paper. Just like that, both our hands appeared on the table at the same time. In the sunlight, the small red moles on our wrists were clearly visible. Seeing that small red dot, I was instantly stunned. The transfer student seemed to notice this coincidence. She naturally asked what the next class was. Suddenly, I glanced at the transfer student's face. I started to scrutinize her carefully. The transfer student, after a while, couldn't take it anymore. She turned her face to meet my gaze. I stammered my reply. Speech and Chinese language arts. How's your math now? The transfer student's tone became more natural. I paused for a moment and nodded. It's not bad. The transfer student looked at me with a smile in her eyes. So are you planning to go for science or liberal arts? So are you planning to choose arts or science? I don't know. I suddenly choked up. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want to answer either. Right now, I just want to figure out one thing. I noticed both of them had a small red mole on their wrists. Only then did I realize this transfer student looks so much like me. That nightmare of a neighbor girl from my childhood. She also has a small red mole on her wrist. So, we were jokingly referred to as a golden boy and jade girl pair when we were kids. Can I ask what your name is? Even though the truth is right in front of me, I still didn't want to believe it. The transfer student slightly furrowed her brows. Just as she was about to speak, the classroom door was pushed open. Mr. Chin walked in holding a stack of papers. The class representative for Chinese came to hand out the papers. I just couldn't wait for an answer. I stood up as if in a dream. I walked to the podium in a daze and started handing out the papers. Teacher Lao Chin has always liked to give out grades on the spot. This is to motivate everyone's spirit. This time is no different. When he calls out someone's name, that person comes up to get their paper. By the end, only 2 papers are left. Jiang Shichen, 125. Below the podium, there are whispers of discussion. Jiang Shichen is again the highest in the class. Maybe this time he's the highest in the entire school. After all, this test was really hard. The class representative is really impressive. Despite the difficulty, his score is even higher than last time. The test was harder, but he still scored higher than last time. I am not the highest. Because underneath my paper is a high-scoring paper with 137. It's not from our class. I thought they had mixed up the papers. But upon closer inspection, this paper has only one name in the information section. The exam number is left blank. There's nothing filled in for account nurturing. It should be a teacher's exam paper. Otherwise, it wouldn't have a score without any filled information. I set the paper down. But teacher Lao Chin, standing next to me, said to continue reading. So I took a moment and spoke up. So I froze for a moment and then spoke up. Su Chin grew. 137. The audience burst into a frenzy. Who is it? They aren't from our class, right? Who knows her? Does no one recognize her? Suddenly, someone remembered something and got very excited. They grabbed the people around them and started whispering. After all the papers were read out, I was about to return to my seat. I saw my new desk mate, the transfer student, slowly sitting up straight. Then she stood up and walked towards me. Those familiar brows and eyes, skin familiar with the eyebrow limit, made me stare at her blankly. Su Qingru pulled the paper from my dazed hands. When she saw my expression, her thin lips curled up slightly, revealing a hint of a gentle smile. Lao Qin was obviously very pleased. Next, let's have the new student introduce herself. Su Qingru smiled politely at the classmates below. Hello everyone. My name is Su Qingru. I graduated from Homer Board Academy abroad. I hope my classmates will guide me in the future. Upon hearing this name, I felt like I remembered something. Su Qingru added with a meaningful tone. I hold the nationality of Longwa, Dragon Country. Upon hearing this, I was once again at a loss for words. Teacher Tai enthusiastically led the applause. Is it only upon returning home that one realizes how great their motherland is? Su Qingru politely nodded and replied. Of course, it's the motherland that's the best. I felt a strange mix of emotions inside. I floated back to my seat in a daze. When I sat down, I saw Su Qingru go back again. She helped me get it from the podium. The test paper I left on the desk. This childhood friend looks different from my memories. She has really matured a lot. When the 3 of us stood at the podium, she seemed like an adult. She could speak eloquently with Teacher Chin. Only I feel like a child. I suddenly feel like my nightmare has truly become a thing of the past. They liked to bully me when we were kids. Is it because we were still children? Growing up means becoming mature. Then I will generously forgive the bad things Su Qingru did to me. I felt a bit happy. I prepared to take the paper from Su Qingru's hands. But the other party didn't let go. 2 characters lightly popped up. Idiot. I was instantly filled with confusion upon hearing this. But Su Qingru calmly let go of the grip on my test paper. Her calmness made me think I was hearing things. I felt a bit reluctant. I slowly took the test paper and placed it on my desk. Then I quickly turned my head to glance at her. Did I really mishear? Or did she really insult me? As soon as class was over, I ran again. I pulled Lu Yu to the corner where we hung out during the last break. I opened my mouth to talk about how I know Tao. Big brother. You mentioned it in the last class. Lu Yu looked really excited. He eagerly interrupted me. Let me speak first. I just heard something. Lu Yu was both excited and thrilled. Didn't a lot of other boys come to the last class? Did the boys go to add the transfer student on social media? At that time, I was actually a bit puzzled. Why didn't any boys from our class add her? Clearly, there are a few active ones in our class. Then, after they all left, I heard our classmates talking about the transfer student. The code she provided wasn't her own. Guess whose it was? I shrugged and said, "It can't be yours, right?" Lu Yu hit me lightly, annoyed. Who else could it be? How would the transfer student know anyone? I shook my head to indicate I couldn't guess. Lu Yu said gleefully, "It's old Qin's." I opened my mouth, speechless. It's hard to imagine how Lao Qin will react. Suddenly passing so many friend requests. What would his reaction be? Lu Yu couldn't help but let out a sigh. Lu Yu expressed his disappointment. How ruthless. If I were one of those boys, I'd probably hate Chang Qingru directly. That's too harsh. Then he continued speaking. Sigh. The transfer student is also very beautiful. And she wouldn't flirt around casually. Jiang Mu Chen. Jiang Mu Chan. You get to sit next to her. He must have saved the galaxy in his past life. But upon hearing this, my expression turned complicated. There wasn't even a hint of happiness. Lu Yu didn't notice. He was still immersed in his beautiful fantasies about Chang Qingru. I casually asked, "What were you trying to say just now?" I said calmly, "I know Su Qingru." Lu Yu nodded with a disbelieving smile. Now I know her too. Chang Qingru. Even her name sounds so nice. I added another comment. Chang Qingru lives next door to me. Lu Yu suddenly turned his head, his face full of disbelief. You're kidding me, right? I definitely replied. Su Qingru is my childhood friend. We've known each other since we were in the womb. She moved away in the 4th grade. It seems she has moved back now. Lu Yu had already gotten used to this chain of conversation. Are you serious? I sighed. I'm lying, you're my son. Lu Yu excitedly slapped my arm. It hurt, and he cried out in pain. After winning the floor, Lu Yu excitedly grabbed my shoulders and shook me. The one on the water platform gets the moon first. If you have such resources, absolutely don't waste them. Use it for a week. I want to see you appear as the school beauty's childhood friend. As her boyfriend in front of the whole school. The corners of my mouth were oily. That word during class. Suddenly remembered that stupid word during class. Anger rises, and I grind my teeth. I'm not close to her, we even had an arranged marriage as kids. If we had a relationship, it could only be a father-daughter relationship. Lu Yu looked at me, his teeth itching with anger. His expression was filled with gossiping curiosity. What secret past do you two share? Spill it quickly. So I dug out some memories. And recounted a few harrowing incidents of bullying. After I finished, I thought Lu Yu would be done with it. Even if he didn't stand on the same side as me, he would at least show sympathy for my plight. Instead, I only saw Lu Xian with a lewd and envious expression. I've known Lu Xian for 3 years. I'm too familiar with that look of his. I asked speechlessly, what romantic novel plot have you inserted yourself into this time? Don't kiss me, cool school beauty. Or it's like, you're so bad, neighbor's sister. Lu Yu looked infatuated. Jiang City Park. Do you know that there are girls whose way of showing affection is to bully? I was speechless. After a long pause, I mumbled. You don't understand. You haven't experienced those dark years. Su Qingru was my nightmare as a child. Lu Yu leisurely continued the conversation. Those childhood nightmares. Perhaps they will become your adult dreams. I was so angry I was grinding my teeth. Come on now. You should really watch less of this kind of junk. Then we chatted all the way to the classroom door. We ran into Su Qingru by the water cooler at the back door. She was staring at me intently. The corners of his mouth slightly lifted. She had a disposable cup and water that she somehow got. Lazily stood there to receive the wood. Lu Yu winked at me. I pretended not to see. Walk away from him calmly. I returned to my seat. Lu Yu's seat was moved to the last row. As soon as he sat down, he discreetly observed the activity at the back door. Su Qingru didn't take a glass of water. She handed the water card to a boy next to her. She softly said, "Thank you." The boy from Xinzhou heard this. His cheeks were already flushed with 2 red clouds. He mustered his courage to speak. "Hello. My name is Xinjie. Nice to meet you." Lu Yu was taken aback for a moment. Only after hearing the self-introduction did he look at the boy's face. He realized it was indeed Shenmu. He instantly ground his teeth in anger. It's Chen Jie again. He and Chen Jie had a feud since middle school. At that time, he was pursuing the goddess of middle school. He finally had some progress. The goddess would come every few days to bring him bubble tea. But then, he didn't know when it started. Chen Jie surprisingly got together with the goddess. While Lu Yu was still struggling over when to confess. Those two were already watching couple movies. Now Chen Jie actually wants to flirt with Jiang Shichen again. If this can be tolerated, what cannot be tolerated? Lu Yu glanced at me sitting at my desk reading. His eyes rolled around. A plan comes to mind. He quickly grabbed my water cup. With a burning gaze, he asked in response to my puzzled look. Hey, do you want some water? I'll go get you some. I'll go get it for you. Back when we were desk mates, we often helped each other get water. I just thought he was being playful. So I agreed. Sure. Lu Yu quickly walked to the water dispenser. I glanced at him. I noticed Su Qingru was still standing there. Shen Jie was standing next to her. I knew the history between Lu Yu and Shen Jie. Lu Yu was so eager to get water. Plus, he specifically chose my cup to fill. Wait a minute. I suddenly had a bad feeling. Just as I was lost in thought, I suddenly saw Su Qingru glance at me. Our eyes met for a brief moment. I quickly shifted my gaze. I glanced at the clock on the back wall of the classroom. Then I calmly turned back. It was as if I was just checking the time. On the other side, Lu Yu had already reached the battlefield. Shen Jie merely glanced at him as he approached. But he playfully paused his words. I traveled to England during middle school. At this moment, Lu Yu suddenly spoke up. Hey, classmate, your deskmate asked you to help him get a cup of water. Su Qingru heard this. It seemed to have struck a chord with her. Shen Jie's unfinished words were also interrupted. Lu Yu maintained the motion of handing over the cup. It seemed that there was indeed some truth to it. Su Qingru obediently took the cup. However, she didn't have a water card. Nor did Lu Yu indicate that he would give her one. He simply handed the cup to Su Qingru and said, "Then it would be a hassle for you to bring it back to him." After saying that, Lu Yu skipped away. He even shot Shen Jie a mischievous glance. Shen Jie was both angry and puzzled. Lu Yu really is something else. It's clearly targeted at him. But he was also confused. Why did Lu Xian mention Jiang Shichen specifically to target him? Didn't Su Qingru just become his deskmate? They were already this close. But Shen Jie wasn't afraid. Jiang Shichen is just a bookworm. How could Su Qingru, who just returned from studying abroad, possibly be interested in someone like this? Thinking of this, Shen Jie felt somewhat relieved. He knew Lu Yu was watching him. He actively handed the wooden card out again. He gave a deliberately gentle smile. Use mine, okay? And I can't just keep staring at them. So I had to continue looking down at my book. In reality, I was restless. I always felt like unreliable Lu Yu would get me into trouble. A figure approached at the edge of my vision. A hand placed a cup filled with warm water in front of me. I immediately shot up, surprised. After such a long time. What trouble did you get into with my water cup? Su Qingru paused, holding the water cup. Then she immediately smiled slightly. Why? Are you still upset that I came back late? I didn't expect it to be Su Qingru who brought my water cup. I was taken aback for a moment. The intimidating aura instantly deflated. I stammered. Why are you the one getting water for me? Isn't it Lu Yu? Su Qingru said lightly. It's the classmate who gave me my water cup. She spoke as she sat down. I turned my head to look. Sure enough, I saw Lu Yu making faces at me. I shot him a fierce glance. Su Qingru looked at my angry expression. Suddenly, she raised her hand. She stopped halfway with her hand raised. I turned my head and saw her strange movement. I cautiously backed away towards the wall. What are you going to do? Su Qingru withdrew her hand. Slowly, I said. What's going on? Why does it look like you want to pat my head at this height? I remember we were in elementary school together. The naughty girl next door often messed up my hairstyle. And now, someone who exists in the corner of my memory has appeared before me. At this moment, I still feel a bit unreal. I hesitated and leaned closer to her, whispering. Classmate Qingru. You are the Su Qingru I know, right? Su Qingru raised an eyebrow. She leaned toward me as well. Her tone sounded a bit displeased. I thought I would recognize you as soon as you walked into the classroom. I scoffed. I suppressed the wonderful, jumping emotions rising inside me. There is. I had already forgotten you. I extended my wrist to show my matching red mole. If it wasn't for seeing you like this, I really can't remember. Su Qingru also turned over her wrist. The red marks on both of their wrists are almost identical. There's a subtle sense of fate at play. For some reason, her tone suddenly became indifferent. She let out a light "oh." And then there was nothing more to say. I realized it belatedly. It seems my words weren't very pleasant. I quickly explained. What I mean is, after all, many years have passed. Those were all things from our childhood. You can't expect me to remember everything. That's not right either. You can't expect a child's memory to be that good. Su Qingru wasn't hearing any of it. Then how could I forget you? I was momentarily stunned before replying. Maybe it's because my appearance has always been the same. The more I said, the more ridiculous it sounded. So, I simply kept my mouth shut. Su Qingru also fell silent for a while. Suddenly, she chuckled. Suddenly, it seemed laughable in November. Indeed, it has been like a joke from childhood to now. I was quite annoyed. When we were kids, I was often pranked by this older sister. But I didn't know whether to refute or respond with sarcasm. If I refuted, wouldn't that just make me seem very self-conscious? But what could I even sarcastically reply with? Su Qingru isn't acting like a princess at all now. Saying she's ugly would be too unimpactful. While I was in this dilemma, the best time to respond had already passed. I angrily turned my head. I slumped over my desk to write in my workbook. Not going to ignore her anymore. But Su Qingru seemed to be in the mood to talk. She poked my arm with her pen. She lazily said, "Classmate Jiang, don't just focus on writing alone. Your new deskmate hasn't read a single book." I instead held my workbook even tighter. I even shifted a bit into the corner. Su Qingru, not willing to back down, continued to poke me with her pen. "Classmate Jiang, because Pei is on my left. If you keep poking, I won't be able to move. Doing this feels like being a cornered little rabbit. Caught in a corner by a hunter, trembling. I can only clutch my workbook tightly. I was almost completely lying on the desk." Su Qingru gave a sigh that seemed ambiguous. She was about to say something. Before she could speak, a boy interrupted her. "Classmate Su Qingru, you can use my workbook first. I need to go to the blackboard newspaper for the next class." "No need to come to class. The one speaking is Shinjie." Su Qingru and I both looked over at him. I saw Shinjie standing in the aisle. He looked generous, allowing us to stare at him. Then he handed over a workbook from his hand. Su Qingru's gaze shifted back to the workbook in his hand. The cover was inscribed with the name Shinjie. Her eyes were cold. There was no emotion on her face. Yet she continued to play it cool. I felt a bit perplexed. I thought Shinjie was really enthusiastic today. It wasn't like this before. I looked at Su Qingru. But I happened to meet Su Qingru's gaze. We gazed at each other. I was slightly moved by her indifferent eyes. It was even more incomprehensible. Could it be that she feels embarrassed to accept? I hesitated for a moment. I reached out and took Shinjie's workbook for her. I placed it on her desk. "Here, take it. Our class is really caring." Su Qingru's eyes grew even colder. She seemed to give me a glare. I looked at her innocently. Even more baffling. Su Qingru lowered her eyes for a moment. She quietly said thank you to Shinjie. Shinjie glanced at me and smiled. "No need to thank me. Classmate Xiong can come to me if there's anything. I won't mind the trouble." As if I wouldn't lend Su Qingru my workbook. As if it were a hassle. I don't know where Shinjie's hostility is coming from. I just thought it was because Lu Yu had just angered him. I'm not just talking nonsense. My seat is in the southwest corner. Shinjie's seat is in the northeast corner. It's really troublesome to go specifically looking for him. Shinjie especially ran over to deliver the exercise book to Qingru. This matter is quite troublesome. Suddenly, in that fleeting moment, I realized something. Shenmu arrived just in time. Could it be that he has been watching me from his seat all along? Why is he looking at us? It couldn't be that. I swallowed hard. I quietly glanced at Su Qingru. It can't be love at first sight this quickly, right? She really is the kind of beauty that brings disaster. Jiu Jie was caught off guard and wanted to retort a few words. But upon seeing Su Qingru beside him, he bit his lip. He still gave up. Anyway, he had already achieved his goal. He had just been observing from behind for a long time. He found that I have quite a knack for flirting with others. They insist on whispering when they could just talk normally. Are they really going to share some secrets? How long have they known each other to have secrets already? She lay on the desk in a less pretentious way, trying to act aloof. Do they think others can't see through it? Shen Jia came over to interrupt them. I'm leaving now. Just put it back on my seat when you're done. It's right over there. De Jia pointed to a seat behind Su Qingru. Qingru tilted her head to take a look and nodded. Okay. Bye-bye. Shen Jia smiled gently, waved his hand, and left. I feel like a third wheel. I feel quite unnecessary. Just then, the class bell rang. But the teacher hasn't arrived yet. I stopped looking at Qingru. Sit up straight with a pout 7. I continued working on problems while sitting in the corner. Su Qingru also sat quietly, not moving at all. It's not completely deliberate. Her gaze moved from the empty desk. I quietly turned to the side to focus on my work. I saw that my bangs were covering part of my eyes. They couldn't see the expression in my eyes. Su Qingru looked at me with a hint of confusion. The two hadn't seen each other for 5 years. These 5 years were crucial for growth. The changes were actually enormous. My brows and eyes had become more defined. My features had also become sharper. But that quirky, silly charm hadn't changed much. Just looking at her makes you want to tease her. In the morning, Su Qingru left her home. When she left the apartment complex, she saw a boy following her absent-mindedly. He was walking over, seemingly lost in thought. He still had that bad habit. This made Su Qingru recognize him immediately. But after 5 years, it was hard to be sure. Su Qingru couldn't be completely certain. She wanted to get closer to confirm. Yet she didn't want to seem too obvious. So she planned to pretend to accidentally bump into him. Then apologize and casually confirm if it was really me. Su Qingru smiled as she brushed past me. She was very happy to see me again. I thought I would stop to say hello to her. But I walked away without looking back. At that moment, I was writing in my workbook. The more I wrote, the more I felt something was off. My arm was uncomfortably stretched out on the desk. I glanced to the right. I suddenly remembered that Su Qingru had pushed me against the wall. I still have to return the makeup. The classroom was very quiet. After 73 seconds, I turned to look at Su Qingru. In the process, our gazes met for a moment. Su Qingru was looking at Shen Jia's workbook. I was taken aback. I thought it must be a coincidence. I felt a bit concerned about how she felt about me. I took out my pen and lightly tapped on the desk between us. It was only when Su Qingru turned her head to look at me that she softly spoke. Classmate. You crossed the 38th parallel 7. Su Qingru glanced at me lightly and said. Where are the Super 7? I frowned upon hearing that. You're sitting right in the middle of the table. Sister. Going abroad at such a young age, Zhao. It's one thing if you can't speak well after coming back. How could you be so blind? Of course, I was just internally complaining. I could only point with my pen. The space that separated the two of us at the table saw the ripple. Su Qingru waved her hand dismissively and said. The 38th parallel. You 3, I'll join. Superficially charming and outstanding. I stared at her speechlessly. However, it had no intimidating effect. Like a fierce little puppy. Su Qingru pushed her brows. My husband must show mercy and let me go. Took the initiative to move aside. Until the next bell rang. We didn't say another word. However, I did notice. Su Qingru didn't even open Shen Jia's workbook. As soon as class ended, she even had a girl sitting a distance away directly. Helped him pass the workbook to Shen Jia. The reason is that he doesn't know where Shen Mu is sitting. The girl named Song Mengmeng is a chatterbox. She can talk to anyone. At first, she wasn't sure how to approach Su Qingru because she seemed hard to talk to. And she temporarily lost the idea of connecting with this side. Unexpectedly, Su Qingru took the initiative to talk to her. Moreover, her tone didn't sound as high-strung as her looks suggested. So after helping her pass on the workbook, she started to actively engage her in conversation. I initially wasn't listening. But Song Mengmeng really could talk a lot. So I ended up overhearing. I just happened to hear Song Mengmeng ask if you have eaten Peking duck. I think that the roasted pig abroad should taste similar to roasted duck. After all, they are both roasted. The lotus leaf chicken here is also quite good. If there's time, We can go out and try Lin's seafood barbecue. Su Qingru smiled slightly. I don't eat in the cafeteria. Song Mengmeng let out an oh. She continued, saying she thinks electric roasted duck is crispier. The country is currently actively developing new energy sources. We should support electric roasting. Traditional charcoal roasting pollutes the environment a bit. Su Qingru smiled slightly but didn't respond. I think Su Qingru probably thinks that Song Mengmeng has gone a bit overboard. The afternoon passed just like that. Besides studying hard, I occasionally dozed off a few times. I also called Lu Yu several times. I kept urging him not to say anything reckless. Don't be so loose-lipped. I don't really want others to know about what's between Su Qingru and me. There's really nothing much to say. Saying it out loud on purpose feels like bragging. I have always been low-key. However, it seems like heaven is not planning to give me that opportunity. After school in the afternoon, I packed my backpack. I took a few papers with me. I was ready to go home. Dad went to entertain an old friend. I don't know what time I'll be home tonight. When my mom gets angry, only my usually gentle dad can say a few good words for me. Thinking about this, I felt listless all afternoon. Su Qingru noticed it too. I was sweating over my English paper. I stole a sideways glance. She smiled slightly. Her tone was quite imposing. You're not still crying over your bad exam results, are you? I snapped back to reality and dryly said to her. How is that possible? Su Qingru had just transferred when we had our monthly exam. In fact, she also took 3 exams in the office. They were Chinese, math, and English. At one point, they were all spread out on the desk. Except for Chinese. The full score for English and math was 150. Although Chinese wasn't a perfect score, it was still the highest in the class, even the whole school. I ground my teeth in thought. How could this person have such good grades? Su Qingru leisurely gathered her exam papers. You did so poorly on the exam. I don't think you want to see my paper right now. There was no one around. I looked around. After confirming that someone saw me bullying the new classmate, I bared my teeth and glared at her. I don't want to see you either. Su Qingru blinked ambiguously. This really isn't working. I scoffed and slung my backpack over my shoulder. I'm leaving. Su Qingru followed me out of the classroom. I ran into Song Mengmeng at the classroom door. Song Mengmeng glanced at us. She casually remarked, You're getting close with Su Qingru. Just speaking without intention. But the listener may take it seriously. There were already a few people talking in the hallway, while some boys were glancing over here, seemingly uninterested. After hearing Song Mengmeng's words, the entire hallway suddenly seemed to quiet down. I was immediately taken aback. I immediately started to seriously nonsense. Student Su can't find the school gate. I'll show her the way. Song Mengmeng let out a sound. Without much thought, she said goodbye to us. She went downstairs by herself first. Song Mengmeng has always been eager to leave school. For some reason, I felt hesitant to look at Xiao Qingrou's expression. Just forced a smile. Classmate Xiao. Let's go. I quickly walked a few steps ahead. Then I slowed down again. I confirmed that Xiao Qingrou was following. I continued to walk forward. When going downstairs, Pai Xiao heard the people next to him discussing the new transfer student. I even saw someone pointing directly at her. It's because he accumulated great virtue in his last life. Only in this life can he be a transfer student's deskmate. Hearing this, I felt speechless. I was just about to step forward to reason with them. But Xiao Qingrou had already caught up behind me. She walked beside me. To exit the school, we had to pass through a street on both sides, lined with cherry blossom trees. The cherry blossoms here are all October cherry trees. It's currently the blooming season. Every day after class, you can see boys and girls coming to enjoy the view. The blooming flowers are increasingly mesmerizing. Every time I pass by here, I can't help but slow down. I am indulged in the fragrance of cherry blossoms in the air. Today happens to have a slight breeze, blowing cherry petals all over the sky. The scene is incredibly beautiful. Several students take advantage of the absence of teachers. Secretly take out their phones to take pictures. I also want to capture this moment. But I have no phone. Even if I had one, I wouldn't dare take it out. After all, our school has many ways to check for phones. But a certain student who just transferred still needs to be contacted. Her eyes lit up. She cheerfully turned around. wanting to borrow Chang Qingrou's phone. Then I heard a click sound. I could no longer be cheerful. Stiffly stared at Su Qingru, who was holding up her phone. With the camera facing me, Su Qingru was wearing a hat. She let out a soft, "Ah." I was discovered. "I'm sorry." But her tone didn't sound apologetic at all. I ran a few steps to check her phone. "What did you take pictures of? Show me." Su Qingru quickly shoved her phone into her pocket. "In broad daylight. You mustn't force it. I definitely can't just reach into her pocket and snatch it." I didn't know whether to be angry or what. Look at her glow. And then look at her enchanting face. This moment was so beautiful. I was taken aback for a moment. My face instantly turned red. I angrily said, "Su Qingru, I've grown up now. You can't bully me like you did before." Su Qingru shrugged nonchalantly, although it was hard to see her face clearly under the hat. But Su Qingrou's perfect figure still attracted quite a few people to look our way. Seeing this, I quickly turned and walked away. I thought to myself, I can't provoke her. Can I really hide from her? I remembered the mean sister who bullied me in childhood is now my deskmate. I couldn't help but quicken my pace. Just as I walked out of the school gate, someone called out to me, "Yi Chen." I stopped in my tracks. I glanced around. For a moment, I didn't see any familiar faces. Did I hear it wrong? I hesitated for a moment. I continued to walk forward. Just as I reached the roadside, my peripheral vision caught sight of a black car stopping beside me. Then the front window of the car rolled down. A handsome face of a wealthy person appeared. The rich person smiled and called out to me, "Yi Chen." That face was both strange and familiar. I was surprised and covered my mouth. "Mom." Su Qingrou's voice came from behind me. "It's Aunt Cha. I really liked her when I was a child. She's Aunt Su, who lived next door to my house." It turns out Qingru came out too. Aunt Su smiled and asked, "Yi Chen, do you still remember me?" I called out, "Aunt Su. Of course I remember. Sweet and sour pork. Braised pork." Su Qingru let out a hum. Annoyed, he walked around me and opened the back door. "Now you remember." I was a bit taken aback. I was momentarily at a loss for words. Aunt Su glanced at us and smiled. "Let's go quickly. Your parents are waiting at the hotel." I quickly nodded. It turns out that Mom said Dad went to meet an old friend at noon. She was talking about Uncle Jie. After driving for about half an hour, we arrived at the hotel. Sure enough, my parents were there. Then I saw the middle-aged man sitting next to Dad. I politely called out, "Uncle Yu." Uncle Su smiled and responded to Dad Jie. He stood up from his seat and walked over to me. Compared our heights. "Young man, it's been years. You've grown up so much." My dad laughed too. "Exactly. In the blink of an eye, we are in high school now. It feels like it was just yesterday that Yi Chen wet the bed." I instantly felt embarrassed and wanted to find a hole to hide in. Soon, after reminiscing, everyone took their seats. I sat next to my mom. Su Qingru sat next to my mom. We just happened to be seated next to each other. As soon as we sat down, Su Qingru even pulled out my chair for me. I was momentarily speechless. Is this really the Su Qingru I knew? She's completely different in front of her elders. My mom gently nudged my arm. "Why don't you thank your sister?" Seeing my somewhat reluctant expression, my mom continued to say, "How about it? This is your childhood friend Qingru. Can't remember?" At this moment, Su's mom chimed in. What a coincidence. This time, I helped Qingru with her transfer procedures. Qingru randomly chose a class, and it just so happens to be Mu Chen's class. Now, the two of them are still desk mates. The topic of calling her sister was finally led astray. I breathed a sigh of relief while secretly grinding my teeth. I glanced sideways at Qingru, who was sitting to my right. She really can act. I had just internally mocked her. Who would have thought that Su Qingru took a big breath? She shot me a sidelong glance and slowly said, "Little Chen is still the class representative for Chinese. There are quite a few things I need his help with. Right? Little Chen." Hearing her say, "little brother," made me feel terrible all of a sudden. Just by looking at the characters, I feel like something is off with me. I felt as if I had been hit hard by a mosquito racket. Goosebumps rose all over my body. But the elders were all looking at me. But the elders were all watching me. I had no choice but to force a fake smile. Sister Qingru is just joking. Chingro's beautiful willow-like brows shaped like peach blossoms. But she didn't say much. Mr. Su looked at my dad and gave a hearty laugh. Ah, the kids have all grown up. The titles of sister and brother can't even be said anymore. Back then, it was still popular to call each other by single characters, right? Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. If it were still in the era of our parents, wouldn't I have to call her Chingru? Chingru. But my dad also started to reminisce. Yeah. Back then, I called you Hong every day. Shout, little Chen's mom. Calling her, bye. It's just not fashionable anymore. My mom's usually calm and composed expression also changed. Her brow twitched slightly. Take a sip of tea to calm down. Mrs. Su teased. You Chen. If you're shy about calling her sister, just call her Chingru directly. Mr. Su nodded in agreement. I was much calmer this time. I looked at Su Chingru and said, trying to stay calm. Chingru. Su Chingru still didn't say anything. In front of the adults, she was overly obedient. She had a perfectly slight smile. During the meal, everyone started chatting about other things. When the waiter started serving the dishes. Halfway through the meal, Su's mom suddenly slapped her thigh. She nudged Su's dad. Oh right, I almost forgot. You didn't remind me about my stuff either. Su's dad was taken aback. He suddenly seemed to remember something. Oh dear. My mind. I left my things in the car. As soon as I finished speaking, I took out my phone to call the driver. I asked him to bring up that black box from the trunk. What were the adults talking about? I hadn't really been listening. Suddenly, a lobster flew onto my plate. I was a bit dazed. I turned my face to look at Su Chingru, who was lazily putting down her chopsticks. I said to her, word by word, what are you doing? Su Chingru seemed to not receive the response she wanted. She let out an annoyed sound with some regret. She asked me in an incredibly infuriating tone. Now I'm not afraid of lobsters. I remember you got pinched by a lobster when you were little. Don't you have a trauma from lobsters? The adults were chatting happily. They didn't pay attention to us. I just knew she had bad intentions. With an angry expression. I'm growing up too, you know. Do you think I haven't made any progress over the years? Su Chingru looked at me with a smile. Your English isn't any better either. I was momentarily taken aback and then let out a cold snort. I just haven't made any progress. It's better than someone who's regressing. Getting more and more immature. What Mu Chen said made Chingru unhappy. Hua Chingru said lazily. Then she seemed to think of something. Her eyes narrowed into a half smile. Chen, little brother. Quickly call her, Sister Chingru, to hear. Hearing this, I turned my head and didn't want to pay attention to her anymore. I picked up the drink on the table to vent my frustration. I hadn't fully swallowed the drink yet. Suddenly, I heard someone shout, Little Chin Chin. I was so startled that I choked. I covered my mouth and started coughing. My mom hurried over to pat my back. Drink slowly, she said. What does that look like? Su Chingru calmly handed me 2 napkins. And I started coughing even harder. When I finally calmed down, I saw Su's mom walking over. She handed me a delicate red velvet box. Chen, this is your welcome gift. I didn't expect there would be a welcome gift for me. I quickly stood up to take the box. Thank you, Aunt Chong and Uncle Su. This was picked out with help from Chien-gru. It wasn't Chien-gru who chose it, Su's mom said. Su's mother said. I was once again choked up with emotion. I glanced at the eagerly awaiting Su Chien-gru. Took a deep breath. Thank you, Chien-gru. Thank you, Sister Chien-gru. Su Chien-gru smiled at me. No need to thank me. Hurry and open it to see if you like it. As soon as I heard that, I was excited. I untied the ribbon on the box. I pressed a mechanism on the outside of the box. The box opened automatically. It revealed a pen inside. It was a pen with a very stylish design. I have to say, at first glance of this pen, I really liked it. Soon, the feast ended with everyone enjoying themselves. After returning home, I lay on my bed in a daze. My childhood nightmare has moved back. And she transferred to our class. And she became my desk mate. Although it doesn't seem like such a nightmare now. Her personality is still quite terrible. The next day, I rarely got up early. Although I was awake, my brain was still asleep. After washing up, I went downstairs to have breakfast. I saw Dad constantly making faces at me. I was stunned for a moment, then my mind cleared up instantly. Every time Dad gives me that look, It's reminding Mom that she caught me making a mistake again. Sure enough, when I turned my head, I saw Mom glaring at me fiercely. Mu Chen. I only saw the scores posted in the class group after coming back last night. Do you know what rank you got in this month's exam? Come and see for yourself. I don't know. I answered weakly. All I know is that most of the class did really poorly. The ranking list wasn't announced in class. I walked over, took the phone, and took a glance. Number 35, name, Jiang Mu Chen. I dropped from 9th place to 35th place. Dad knew about this last night. He patted my shoulder and comforted me. It's normal to do poorly on one test. Staying down once helps you remember the feeling of being on top more firmly. Mom shot Dad a glare, then turned to me and said, "Bring your exam paper over." Dad didn't mention this month's exam again along the way. Don't put so much pressure on the child. The exam paper was spread out on the desk. Instead, he looked down at the test papers with a godlike, cold perspective. She didn't pick it up to look at it. Rather, it views these test papers from a cold, godlike perspective. I felt like I had been struck by lightning and dropped my hands. Dear. You see, if Mu Chen doesn't leave now, he'll really be late. A small monthly exam. Don't put so much pressure on your child. Before my mom could retort, he looked at me again. Put the paper away neatly. I'll take you to school. Dad didn't mention the monthly exam again along the way. I trotted all the way to the teaching building at 7 school. I ran into Shinjie. Both of us were surprised. Shinjie quickly calmed down. He snorted lightly. Then he seemed to think of something, his eyes rolling, and said sarcastically, "Mu Chen. You did quite well on this exam. 35th place." I smiled and nodded. It's okay, you're doing well on your exams. I really haven't paid attention to how much Shinjie scored. But I think I've heard Lu Yu mention it. He said Shinjie's rank has always been hovering around the bottom 20. Shenmu continued to boast proudly, saying, "I've improved by 3 places this time." I smiled. I couldn't be bothered to respond. I turned and entered the classroom. As soon as I entered the classroom, I saw a group of classmates gathered in front of the multimedia screen. As I approached, I indeed heard them talking about report cards. I purposely squeezed in to take a look. I saw Shinjie's name on the second page. 52nd place. There are a total of 65 people in our class. At that moment, I truly smiled. I shook my head and walked to my seat. Shinjie chased after me, still not giving up. "Hey, Jiang Cheng, what are you laughing at? Didn't I make progress? Aren't you the one falling behind?" Hearing this, I glanced at him and said, "That's right. So what?" Shinjie said proudly. "So if this trend continues, soon my ranking will surpass yours. How about it? Aren't you feeling anxious now?" "No way." Someone beside Yi interjected. "Do you think this is a card game? You win a round, I win a round." Lu Yu walked over. He placed a box of yogurt on my desk. He smiled at me and said, "Here you go. I'm here to feed you." After saying that, Lu Yu looked at Shinjie and intentionally changed his voice to say, "Hey Shinjie, do you want some? I have a bottle of walnut flavor here. It's good for the brain." Hearing this, Shinjie shot us a fierce glare. He stormed off angrily. I watched Shinjie's furious back as he left. Finally, I couldn't help but ask, "Is he really like this? He's actually quite cute." This was actually my first time dealing with Shinjie. Completely different from what I imagined. Lu Yu scoffed and said, "You mean to say he's stupid, right? He's incredibly foolish. If you say he won my goddess's heart by being foolish, I could accept that. But he's not just stupid. He's also extremely annoying." I shrugged and looked at Lu Yu with a bit of confusion. Why has Shinjie suddenly become so hostile towards me? What were you doing with my water cup yesterday? I hadn't had the chance to ask Sichuan yet. Lu Yu suddenly stuttered. Then he smiled at me in a flattering way. "Ben Chen. Look, I even bought you yogurt as an apology. So this yogurt is meant to win my favor, huh?" I said with some annoyance. "No. I was just looking at the transcript." After saying that, Lu Yu quickly changed the subject. Then he leaned closer and whispered. I just wanted to annoy him. So I handed Sichuan's water cup to student Su. And then said a sentence. "Su, your desk mate is asking you to get her a cup of water. And I still haven't given Chia a student card. She used Shinjie's water card to get your water." Hearing this, I felt both touched and complicated as I looked at Lu Yu. Lu Yu quickly made himself scarce before I lost my temper. I wanted to chase after him. But in my peripheral vision, I saw a stunning figure walk into the classroom. I felt like my feet were glued to the floor in an instant. After hesitating for a moment, I sat back down. After Su Qingru entered the class, she immediately returned to her seat. Instead, she stopped by the multimedia area and glanced a few times. It seemed like Su had an aura that kept people at a distance. A few people automatically gave way to her, so she could see more clearly. The only class monitor who had ever spoken to Su was also present. He watched her come over to check the transcript. He felt it was necessary to explain to this high-achieving student from abroad, who had just returned from studying abroad. So, what I'm saying is, classmate Su, don't be fooled by the fact that our class's scores are generally low this time. It's actually because the exam paper was too difficult. Everyone's scores are just low. However, among these low scores, we can still see a group of rising stars holding their ground. For example, our class's study committee member is still able to maintain a 3-digit score. And there's also a kid from our class who scored well in the TV test. He achieved a great score of 120 in the language exam. Also, Su Qingru seemed to be listening but not really. Occasionally, she would hum softly, but her gaze didn't follow. Instead, it was fixed on a certain spot. She was staring at one place. The class monitor continued. And our language representative. That is, your deskmate Jiang Shicheng. This time, he excelled in Chinese again. First in the class, second in the grade. Oh dear. Why can't I find his name? The class monitor awkwardly scratched his head. Here it is. That's quite unexpected. He usually maintains a steady rank within the top 10. I didn't expect to mess up this time. Su Qingru looked up at the book upon hearing this. We happened to make eye contact. She was just about to return to her seat. The class captain suddenly remembered something and called her back. Classmate Su Qingru square root. Mr. Qin asked you to go to the academic affairs office to collect the book. Su Qingru set down her white backpack and pushed it inside. The class captain continued to speak. You remember where the academic affairs office is, right? If you don't remember, let Jiang Jiqing take you there. Su Qingru is quite familiar with it. The words rolled around on her tongue. In the end, she swallowed it. She smiled and spoke. Oh, I really forgot. I didn't want to pay attention to her a bit. So I made up a reason to tell the class captain. But I need to collect the Chinese homework. The class captain's eyes widened. Collect it now. I still have a few questions left unwritten. No, you have to go. I'll collect it when you come back. By then, I'll have finished too. I felt a bit troubled inside. Jiang the carpenter. What does it mean to lift a stone and smash your own foot? Class monitor, you're doing great. The class monitor quickly dashed back to their seat to catch up on homework. So I had no choice but to resignedly stand up. Let's go. We walked in the hallway one after the other. I took a glance inside the office from outside. All the subject teachers were present. So I stepped back to the wall and told Su Qingru. You can just go in directly and find old Qin. I'm leaving first. Dui Liang turned around and was about to leave. But Su Qingru gently tugged at my sleeve. Help me out here. We can't give up halfway. She adorably blinked her eyes. The language arts class representative. I looked at the tightly closed office. I questioned myself countless times why I agreed to stay. Indeed, women who know how to act cute have it best. It turns out Su Qingru was right to ask me to stay. The book Su Qingru was going to take was thick as a tree. In addition, there were 2 sets of school uniforms. One set for autumn and winter, and one for spring and summer. Both were wrapped in plastic bags, making them very smooth. Su Qingru had just walked out of the office holding this item. The uniform bag slipped from his arms. It happened to fall at my feet. I picked it up and held it in my arms. Let's go, classmate Su. Su Qingru smiled at me. Okay. We passed by the music classroom on the way. A charming and beautiful sound of piano flowed over. I quickened my pace a few steps. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling glass window and looked inside. Su Qingru slowed down a few steps to catch up with me. Seeing that I was watching intently, she followed suit and looked inside. Inside the music classroom, there was a boy and a girl. The girl was playing the piano. The boy sat nearby, holding a violin in his arms. Occasionally, he would play a few notes for her. That senior sister is named Chu Mengyao. I will take the initiative to explain to Su Qingru. She plays the piano exceptionally well. She is always the highlight of school events. She even substituted for a teacher on maternity leave. She taught music class for a semester. Su Qingru responded with an "oh" and asked. The boy was clear. I looked over at the boy and continued to introduce. That senior is named Anicheng. He is quite famous. He is good-looking and has always ranked in the top 10 of his grade. He often hosts school events. It's said that he is the son of a board member. Su Qingru responded with another "oh." She awkwardly made a comment without any emotion. A talented man and a happy woman, a perfect match. Don't talk nonsense, they're not in that kind of relationship. I was afraid someone inside would hear. I hurriedly shot her a glare. However, it seemed like they heard us anyway. The piano music gradually stopped. Chu Mengyao looked out the window. Smiled gently. I waved at her. She smiled happily as well. Anicheng also looked outside. His gaze swept over me and froze when he saw Xiao Qingru. I didn't see that. He pointed to the front at Chu Mengyao. No, he pointed at the front towards Chu Mengyao. He also mimicked a walking gesture. Finally, he waved at her. Meaning I was about to leave. Chu Mengyao also waved at me with a smile. Then I looked at Xiao Qingru. Let's go. Can you still carry it? Let me help you with that. After saying that, I took the books from her arms. I held them directly in my arms. Alright, let's go. Xiao classmate murmured softly. I followed closely behind. As we were about to pass by the glass window, I glanced back into the music classroom. Chu Mengyao was still smiling, watching us leave. Once in the classroom, I unloaded the books onto the desk. I plopped down in my seat, panting from exhaustion. Seeing this, Xiao Qingru said lightly. This won't do. I detected the sarcasm in her annoyed retort. Who am I doing all this for? Su Qingru let out a huff and fell silent. She didn't speak until the class was over. After class, I need to pick up Mu. I want Su Qingru to move to the front seat. Before I could even speak, I saw Su Qingru look up at me. She smiled gently, her tone soft. Is it Guishui? I'll go get it for you. I was a bit puzzled inside. Becoming desk mates for a day. I concluded that she was even more childish than before. Her bad behavior hasn't diminished since those days. Such gentle moments are rare. I don't believe it. After a few moments of thought, I suddenly realized. Are you trying to borrow my water card? Su Qingru heard this. The smile on her face froze at the corners. I placed the water cup and the water card in front of her. You have to go to the second floor office to apply for and recharge the water card yourself. Are you still waiting for the school to give you one? Don't smile so hypocritically. Su Qingru's forced smile froze. With a cold glance, she coldly spat out 4 words. Go by yourself. I knew it would be like this. A pretentious, malicious, and childish freak. Su Qingru gained another adjective. Capricious. In the end, I still didn't go to fetch water. Because Lu Yu came to get me to go to the snack shop. Su Qingru slowly moved her chair to make way for me. Lu Yu loves to eat spicy strips. Nearly every time we go to buy snacks, he always gets 1 or 2 packs. This time was no different. As soon as we entered the supermarket, he headed straight for the display full of spicy strips, like a child. I kept watching Lu Yu eat. To be honest, I really crave spicy strips, this junk food. However, I'm slightly allergic to spicy strips. I still have the ointment from the last allergic reaction. This young master should be fine with a little bit, right? I stood there, conflicted and hesitating for a long time before saying to Lu Yu, take another packet. Lu Yu hasn't forgotten that I can't eat too spicy. You want to eat. I just want to give it a try. But honestly, Lu Yu definitely won't let her eat it. I said, thinking of myself as smart. I won't eat it. I brought a packet for Su Qingru because she wanted to eat it. Can't tell at all. Su Qingru doesn't look like someone who would love to eat this kind of junk food. Maybe she likes spicy food. I secretly rejoiced and nodded. Thought about it. Eating it alone would definitely leave a strong taste in my mouth. I should buy another drink to clear the taste, so I asked Lu Yu. Do you drink beverages? So how come Su Qingru asked you to get her a drink? It's because I want to drink. Bringing her a bottle of water would be fine too. After I said that, a sudden light bulb went off in my head. A sudden realization hit me. I was reminded by Lu Yu. Xiong Qingru doesn't have a water card or a cup. That's not right. Then why did she borrow my wooden card? It can't be that she's genuinely trying to get water for me. I was confused. Lu Yu, what are you talking about? What nonsense are you talking about? I don't know how to say it. I can't even figure it out myself. He just shook his head. It's nothing. I brought a bottle of water for Su Qingru too. What do you want to drink? I just grabbed one while I was at it. Lu Yu has already prepared the food. Let's go, I'll go with you. Meanwhile, in an unnoticed corner. After we walked away. On the other side of the spicy snacks shelf. A boy stood there, seemingly lost in thought. His phone was still on the message page. There was a brief conversation on it. From today, it looks like we ran into each other in the music room. Is that girl Jiang Shuichun's girlfriend? How come I've never seen her before? I don't know. But I heard there's a transfer student in Xiaochun's class. I saw them coming with textbooks and school uniforms from the direction of the academic office. It should be him. The boy stood still for a long time. He nervously clicked on another person's profile picture. He sent a message. Do you know the name of the new transfer student in freshman year? What is their name? The other person replied quickly. If you're talking about the well-known one. I know. Call her Su Qingru. The other person replied again. Chenggu. Aren't you usually not interested in this kind of gossip? Why are you suddenly interested in this transfer student? And Yi Cheng replied. It's nothing. I mistook the person. I recognized the wrong person. Lu Yu and I returned to the classroom just before the class started. I had to save my snacks for the long break later. I held a bag of snacks. I sat down under Su Qingru's unusual gaze. I can awkwardly explain. Don't look at me like that. This is what I'm going to eat for the whole day. It's not just for one meal. And I have to share it with my friends. Actually, I can't eat that much. Hearing this, Su Qingru's lips slightly curled up. She was about to explain something to me. I didn't say anything. I said calmly. Your eyes just betrayed you. You're thinking I'm a pig for being able to eat this much, aren't you? As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Su Qingru raise her eyebrows. By the time I realized, it was too late. Su Qingru nodded. It's indeed a fact. I let out a cold laugh. I took the soda I brought for her and threw it directly into her arms. I was kind enough to bring someone water. But that someone is cursing me in her heart. To repay kindness with resentment. To repay good deeds with anger. Su Qingru caught the soda I threw at her with one hand. I froze for a moment. She really didn't expect that I would bring her something. She looked at the water bottle and then turned to me. Su Qingru's tone has a rising drag at the end. Thank you, classmate Jiang. I took the opportunity to ask if what happened before going to the convenience store was a misunderstanding on her part. Just as I was about to speak, the school bell rang. Mr. Qin walked in right after. So I had no choice but to keep quiet for now. I planned to ask after class. This time, Mr. Qin not only taught Chinese class, but also held a brief class meeting in the first 10 minutes of the lesson. He briefly summarized this month's exam. He highlighted the students who made progress in this exam. He mentioned the students who improved moderately. He also casually reminded high-achieving students not to be arrogant. Because once they become arrogant, they'll be pushed out by others. I automatically felt that Mr. Qin was lecturing me. I lowered my head in shame. Finally, the class came to an end. As soon as class ended, I slumped over my desk to sleep. I performed really well yesterday. Because the impact of Su Qingru's arrival was too overwhelming for me, I couldn't even get up. But today, when I fully accepted it, the weird transfer student is my childhood friend. Feeling sleepy has become a matter of course. When I was sleepy, I pretended to hold a pen in my hand. The pen cap was off. The pen tip was originally pointing down at the test paper. But as I gradually succumbed to sleepiness, my hand holding the pen also tilted down onto the desk. The pen tip was now pointing at myself. After class, there was a commotion in the back row. I moved my arm and tightened it due to the noise. A tickling sensation spread across my face. In a dream, the distant horizon. A light laugh drifted over. Lin Qingru looked at me, oblivious. She was drawing on her own face with a pen. Between swine and void. Soon, a tangled mess was created. The black yarn was now perfectly drawn. She watched it with great interest. Not the slightest bit interrupted my thoughts. I even subconsciously wanted to grab my phone to capture this moment. But my pocket was completely empty. It was only then that Su Qingru remembered that after old Qin completed her transfer process yesterday, He had prohibited her from bringing her phone today. TSK, that's a bit unfortunate. I was still moving restlessly without realizing it. The dark circles on my face were spreading more and more. Soon to be a Harlequin Cat 7. Su Chingru had seen enough. She was about to generously take the pen out of my hand. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from behind me at an angle. It pulled the pen from my hand before she could act. It also gently patted my shoulder. I didn't wake up. Su Chingru glanced back. It's a girl I don't know. She was holding 2 cups of milk tea, still steaming. Then she looked at me. And also glanced at Su Chingru, who was sitting next to me. Froze for a moment. Then I lightly shifted my gaze away. I took a glance at the milk tea label. I placed one of the cups on the windowsill next to me. At that moment, Lu Yu happened to come over. His line of sight was blocked by the girl, so he didn't see me sleeping. Lu Yu exclaimed. Sigh. Yang Yuding, you're here. Yang Yuding smiled broadly. She handed Lu Yu the other cup of milk tea she had. Here, this is for you. Thank you, Sister Ting, for remembering there was a book. Lu Yu received the milk tea with a beaming smile. Just as he was about to compliment her a bit more, he suddenly remembered that Qin Ro was right beside him. He instantly couldn't find the words to say. Lu Yu inexplicably felt that the scene was a bit like a battleground. And Jiang Shichen was the male protagonist. It was then that Lu Yu noticed I was lying asleep at the table. There was something black and flat on my face. Lu Yu slapped my back. Jiang Yichen. If you don't get up, I'll take you to sell coal. I groaned and struggled to move my eyelids. I still didn't know what was happening. Don't call me. I'm really dead tired. Just let me sleep a little longer. Bro, come on and see what you look like now. Lu Yu said irritably. I closed my eyes and swung my hand to the side with a snap. I happened to touch someone. I thought my desk mate was Lu Yu. I comfortingly patted Su Chingru. Then I grabbed her hand and rested my head on it. Shut up. Su Chingru, whose arm was pinned, looked surprised. Lu Yu couldn't bear to look at the faces of the 2 beauties next to us. He directly pressed his iced milk tea against the back of my neck. After 2 seconds, I suddenly swatted away what was on my neck. I sat up straight in panic. I lifted my head, still feeling lost. I saw 3 people all staring at me. I thought I was seeing double. But upon closer inspection, the 3 ghosts looked different. Ghosting is also gender-specific. I widened my eyes and looked closely, slowly waking up. What's wrong with you all? Lu Yu pointed at my hand resting on Su Qin Ro's arm, signaling me. I followed his gaze, taking a second to react. I quickly realized my hand was resting on Su Qin Ro's forearm. My eyes widened in shock as I quickly pulled my hand back. My ears turned a bit red, and I felt angry, like a villain caught in the act. What are you doing, putting your arm under my hand? Su Qin Ro tilted her head. She looked at me speechlessly. Lu Yu couldn't bear to look at my embarrassment any longer. He took out a napkin and pressed it against my face. Shut up, you ancestor. First, wipe your face. I thought I was drooling. I awkwardly reached to wipe my mouth. Lu Yu asked a female classmate nearby. A makeup mirror was held in front of me. I stared at my reflection in the mirror for 3 seconds. There were people all around me. I barely swallowed the embarrassment. But anyone could tell. My emotions are not very stable right now. Yang Yuding comforted me, saying. It's okay, you're quite cute. If you feel embarrassed, I can put some on my face too. It was only then that I realized Yang Yuding was also here. I was momentarily stunned. While picking up the small mirror to wipe, I asked her while removing the dark marks from my face. What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to be at another school for an exchange? It already ended. The ink from the pen is hard to erase. I've rubbed it so much that it's red, and it still won't come off. Yang Yuding replied. Tang Yuding responded. Not yet. I'm going back to school to grab some things. When the guest passed by the milk tea shop, he brought you a cup of milk tea. Yang Yuding pointed to the windowsill. Your favorite is baked milk with ice and red bean pearls. I responded with a slight acknowledgement. Su Qingru suddenly glanced at me. I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye and fell silent for a moment. Not knowing what I remembered, I said to Yang Yuding. You don't have to report it so completely every time. As if I eat a lot or something. Yang Yuding smiled. It's all small stuff anyway. Su Qingru coldly replied. Are you drinking a treasure porridge? The 2 spoke almost simultaneously. My hand wiping my face slowed down. I inexplicably felt uncomfortable in this atmosphere now. It made me feel uneasy all over. Is it because there are too many people? Lu Yu, who was watching nearby, had a very vivid expression. Onlookers have never been afraid of a big fuss. I replied to Yang Yuding first. But it sounds like a lot. Then I put the mirror down again. I covered my dark cheek and glared at Qingqingru. Yang Yuding seemed about to say something and just opened her mouth. However, Tai looked at Su Qingru and added a comment. Oh right. Why do I suddenly have a marker stain on my face? I didn't even take a pen. Did you draw on my face while I was sleeping? Su Qingru couldn't help but laugh and said ominously. If you sleep again in the next class, I'll take you out. Yang Yuding glanced at Su Qingru again and actively said. It's not her. Don't wrong others. I was the one who took the black pen out of your hand when I arrived. I said, oh. Su Qingru gave Yang Yuding a faint glance. Yang Yuding said again. You should go wash it off in the bathroom. You can't wipe it off like that. Lu Yu also chimed in from the side. Let's bring snacks and milk tea. After washing up, we'll go straight to the playground to eat. I nodded and took out the snacks from my desk pocket. Then, I dug out my wallet from my backpack. Why are you taking money? Do you need to buy anything else? Lu Yujin. No. I asked while counting the money and took out 15 to hand to Yang Yuding. Wisdom. Milk tea recorded. In one motion, Yuding pushed my hand back. What to take, Wang? That's how the little boat of friendship gets capsized by you. If you feel embarrassed, treat me next time. I thought for a moment. That works too. What is it, collecting money back at 7 or collecting back at 710? Qian took the money back. I took a paper and wiped my cheek. We quickly left the classroom. It suddenly became quiet next to Su Qingru. The noise was far away from him. Everything is changing every moment. People are the same. She lowered her head and gave a self-deprecating smile. Then she stood up and left as well. We all sat down in the shade of the trees on the playground. I started to open snacks with Lu Yu. Yang Yuding stuffed a chip into her mouth and said, It's your new desk mate, Jiang Shichen. How come I've never seen you in your class before? I thought to myself. I quoted what I heard others say about Su Qingru. A top student who studied abroad. Beauty and talent coexist. Then I added my own comment. She looks pretty glamorous. But in reality, she's a capricious and rude little witch. Even Lu Yu was listening. What have you experienced this whole time? Why such a low opinion of her? I've gone through too much. I had Yang Yuding beside me. I didn't say much. I just shook my head. The anger on my face didn't seem fake. Yang Yuding felt a little more relieved. I think I need to find Lu Yu privately to ask for more details. We took out our snacks to share with Yang Yuding. We quickly finished more than half of it. Yang Yuding went to throw the trash into the bin. As soon as she left, Lu Yu asked. You've become familiar with Chia in no time. It really was quick. Thanks to Su Qingru for her exceedingly terrible personality. It broke through the awkwardness of our years apart. It reminded me of those days in childhood when I was bullied. Now just seeing Yi Qingru makes me angry. I just want to say a few words. I was internally complaining. While taking advantage of Lu Yu yawning, I quickly stuffed a pack of spicy strips into my pocket. Lu Yu really didn't notice my little actions. I was just about to continue asking. Yang Yuding had already run back. I was about to speak. It's almost time, we should head back. Yang Yuding looked at her watch. It's currently the big break. There's still 15 minutes left. I still need to go to the bathroom. Okay then. Then I should leave too. Yang Yuding said. I'll come back to find you guys later. Bye bye. Lu Yu and I waved at her. After she left, I nudged Lu Yu's arm. You go first. I'm going to the bathroom on the playground. Lu Yu looked confused. You really need to go to the bathroom? I thought you were making an excuse. I was startled. I thought Lu Yu saw me secretly hiding a bag of spicy strips. I widened my eyes and weakly retorted. Why would I make up an excuse? Lu Yu also seemed guilty. He thought I had noticed something. Whether he acted clueless or not, I could see his guilt. Alright then, I'll leave first. Pay attention to the time and don't be late. Both of us had our own hidden agendas. After separating in place, I couldn't wait to find a secluded spot to try a piece of spicy strip. Lu Yu thought to himself, I never want to act as a wingman impulsively again. This guy is so much of a straight man. Lu Yu took the spicy strips. I didn't eat any. So the first time, it was so spicy she threw up. She choked several times. This is way too spicy. How did Lu Yu manage to eat 2 packs without changing his expression? I was completely frowning. I was coughing continuously from the spiciness. The other drinks I bought were all taken away by Lu Yu. The milk tea was also finished. I paused for a while. I realized my mouth was still burning. I thought about going to buy another bottle of water. But I realized I didn't bring any money. I seriously didn't bring any money. I felt completely deflated. I thought maybe I could try my luck at the corner store. See if I could run into someone I knew to borrow a couple of bucks. I peeked out from behind the tree where I was standing. I hadn't taken a few steps when I saw the small stage nearby. A beautiful figure sits with its back to me. Isn't that back view Su Qingru? I didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. I was just about to step forward to greet her. Suddenly, an odd thought crossed my mind. I came to this secluded corner alone to secretly eat spicy strips. Su Qingru came over here alone as well. What is she secretly doing in this place? Maybe I can catch her in something. So I circled around to the front of the stage, filming her. Suddenly, I rushed out and stood in front of her. Su Qingru was clearly taken aback. Quickly, her fingers moved from. She pulled something from her mouth and hid it on her body. Her movements were too fast. I could only catch a glimpse of a white shadow. But thanks to her action, I was able to notice right away. What was in her mouth? A white strip was secretly coming out of her mouth. It was glimmering in her mouth. She didn't want me to see it. What could it possibly be? So Qingru is smoking. The moment I reached this conclusion, I felt completely overwhelmed. I showed an awkward expression. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. I definitely have something on her. But this isn't the kind of leverage I wanted. At this time, Su Qingru spoke with a slight hum. What are you doing here? I let out a vague, ah. Then I went, oh, again. After thinking for a moment, I replied. I came to use the restroom. Nonsense. Su Qingru smiled playfully at the corners of her eyes. Why are you following your sister Qingru? Seeing her like this, I'm more convinced she's smoking. My expression was a bit complicated, and I ignored her nonsense. Seriously speaking, I won't tell anyone. Su Qingru paused for a moment. She withdrew her smile. Her tone wasn't very natural. Who cares whether you tell or not? Her right hand remained stubbornly hidden behind her back. I frowned at her and said, the school rules clearly prohibit it. I paused for a moment. Pai said those 2 words. He continued earnestly. If discovered, it would be a serious offense. In the future, it will affect all your evaluations and awards. Your grades are so good. There might be spots for direct admission in the senior year. Su Qingru seemed to be forcing a smile. Her voice became quite strange. You have quite a high opinion of me, she said with a serious face. It's only limited to academic performance. Su Qingru replied. Su Qingru followed up. I have a great personality too. She was about to digress again. I angrily clenched my fist. Can you please take this seriously? If it weren't for the fact that I've known you for so long, who would care about you? Direct admission is for you, what does it have to do with me? Hearing this, Su Qingru lowered her head. Her shoulders and chest were trembling. I stiffened my movements. I thought to myself, this weirdo couldn't possibly be so fragile to cry for my scolding, right? I instantly became flustered. Su Qingru. Don't do this. I'm not going to spill it. I took a few steps closer while speaking. I wanted to see her expression. Su Qingru suddenly lifted her head. A completely relaxed smile appeared before my eyes. Her lips were red, her teeth white, and she was stunning. Under the dazzling sunlight, I was almost mesmerized for a few seconds upon seeing her. My little eyes were fixed on her without blinking. Su Qingru laughed freely and exuberantly. She seemed to be bursting with energy. She openly leaned closer to me. We were very close to each other. There was a smile in the corner of Su Qingru's eyes. You treat me like that. Just go run to the playground a bit. I was momentarily stunned. What else would it be? What else could it be about? I slowly returned to the 7 gods. Only then did I feel that the distance between the 2 of us was too close. I instinctively took a step back. Su Qingru noticed and remained silent. She stretched out her right hand and put it to her mouth. As if she had laughed enough. The whole person feels lazy after relaxing. She had a white paper stick in her mouth. But it didn't affect her speech at all. It was still that familiar, enchanting tone. But it was also quite teasing. It was a tone that belonged exclusively to Su Qingru. Little Chin Chin. Being caught eating a lollipop would result in a serious penalty. Which rule is that in the school regulations? When I realized what she had listened to, her whole face turned bright red. I was both angry and annoyed. I couldn't say anything and just wanted to turn around and leave. A hand reached out and grabbed me. Don't. Su Qingru coaxed in a gentle voice. In the next moment, she stuffed something into my hand. I looked down to see. Then I heard her let out a charming laugh. Sister Qingru, there's another candy here. Leaning for 2 seconds. Pausing for 2 seconds. She started to stifle her laughter again. Here, have some. Just don't let anyone know. I still want to get a guaranteed admission. I was so mad, holding the lollipop in my hand. Su Qingru. Ha ha ha. Su Qingru's laughter felt like happiness had taken form. It easily spread to my emotions as it echoed in the playground. Hey, stop laughing. I was originally frowning and sulking. I couldn't look at her smile for more than 5 seconds. Suddenly, I let out a laugh and joined her. I tightened my grip on the picture in my hand. The candy in my hand became purple. It was both funny and infuriating. I can't believe Su Qingru sneaked to the playground to eat lollipops. Su Qingru. A high-achieving student who returned from abroad. She actually snuck to the playground to eat junk food just like me. I lost the last bit of affection I had for her. I burst into laughter along with her. The two of us were laughing heartily. Suddenly, a joyful bell rang through the classroom building. The long echoes resonated across the playground. My expression changed, and I couldn't laugh anymore. Oh no, I forgot about class. Now I was really annoyed and glared at Su Qingru. You're still laughing. Hurry up. The teacher is very strict in the next class. What are you afraid of? Su Qingru slowly stopped laughing. She gave me a meaningful glance. Report. The chemistry teacher turned to look at the door while teaching. Why are you so late? How did you get here so early? I didn't change my expression. The new student needs to complete the transfer of school registration. Teacher Zhao has something to attend to. I took her to a few offices to get signatures. Su Qingru was behind me. She was holding a few forms in her hand. She let the chemistry teacher scrutinize her. As expected, the chemistry teacher didn't say anything. Come in. The two of them returned to their seats properly. To the students from the podium. A subtle glance that seemed to ignore. The reason was thought of by Su Qingru. The explanation was perfected by me, the class representative. The document was a water card giveaway. It was a perfect collaboration. In the whole class, only Lu Yu's face turned pale and his eyes widened. Watching the two of us calmly return to our seats. My head was filled with thoughts. How did they come back together? What were they up to? Those two are acting strange. I spent the entire class with these questions. Lu Yu glanced at the back of our heads at least 50 times. Even the chemistry teacher couldn't help but ask him. That boy in the last row. Did you sleep in a weird position? Lu Yu nodded awkwardly. I'm not very good at chemistry. I was either busy looking for others' questions, or helping Lu Yu with questions he didn't understand. In between, I even took a trip to the office to move the Chinese homework. Then I distributed it. Busy like a whirlwind top. The last self-study period. You can freely ask questions. There were only 5 minutes left until school was out. I was looking around the classroom, hoping to catch someone to save me. Su Qingru couldn't stand it anymore. She tapped my desk with her knuckles and said, "You should go ask someone else a question. Others might be busy too. And the time you spend on the road. You could explain several steps by now." I nodded along. That is indeed the case. Su Qingru lightly adjusted her desk number again. Why don't you ask your deskmate? I actually look quite like a straight-A student. I pursed my lips. Suddenly, I remembered the ridiculous math of the test. I suddenly thought of Su Qingru and her perfect score in math. That was a perfect score. I had never seen a perfect score before. Although Su Qingru only took 3 subjects in this month's exam. The scores weren't even entered into the system. But her math is so good. I guess the other science subjects can't be bad either. But I always feel like Su Qingru's intentions aren't good. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're annoyed that I keep coming in and out, right?" Su Qingru didn't refute her statement. She waved 3 pretty fingers around. Said casually, $3 per question. I continued speaking. But you have to let me have a trial session first. Even tutoring centers allow free trial classes. But Su Qingru said slowly, I don't want to teach anymore. I paused my movements and turned to glare at her. You want me again? Su Qingru continued at a leisurely pace. That last sentence was just teasing you. Hearing this, I got a bit angry. She even boldly admitted she wanted me. I was about to retort at her, when I suddenly realized what she meant. If that line about not wanting to save me was asking for my help, then it means she doesn't want to teach me again. At this time, Su Qingru said again, what I just said about $3 per question was also a joke. I'm getting confused by her. I looked at her, somewhat speechless. Speak plainly. Su Qingru turned her head and raised her mouth slightly. Again with that drawn-out tone. In a nonchalant tone. How can a sister charge her brother for help with problems? Isn't that how it should be? After saying that, he directly took the chemistry paper off my desk. I thought to myself that my heart skipped a beat for a moment. The change came too suddenly. I slowly exhaled a breath I had been holding for a long time. I felt my ears getting a bit hot. I tried to calm my racing heart. I tried my best not to let the nearby weirdo notice anything. Regardless of what was said, it was all a fuss. Su Qingru still took the chance to give it during the break. I explained these two chemistry problems thoroughly. The afternoon passed quickly. It was time for the last class. This class was just for me again. I rubbed the skin under my eyes. Then I twisted off the cap and took a sip of water. I reviewed the physics paper, feeling slumped. I looked at the last question. Suddenly, I didn't understand again. I flipped through the book but still couldn't remember.